Welcome to Ontario Cold Cases, the podcast, brought to you by Nickel Investigations, the podcast that delves deep into the unsolved mysteries that haunt our province. I'm Jay Nickel, a private investigator with Nickel Investigations, and your host and guide in this journey through the chilling tales that left investigators baffled and communities in search of answers. In each episode, we'll unearth the forgotten stories of Ontario's cold cases, exploring the details, the evidence, and the individuals involved with the eye of a private investigator who specializes in cold case investigations. From the mysterious disappearances to the perplexing murders, our mission is to shine a light in these cases and hopefully bring justice to those who have long awaited closure. But we can't do it alone. Join us as we navigate the twists and turns of these enigmatic cases. We'll speak with experts, law enforcement officials, and sometimes even the families of the victims, all in the pursuit of truth. So buckle up and prepare to dive headfirst into the world of unresolved mysteries. Together we'll keep the flame of hope burning for justice, one episode at a time. Thank you for tuning in to the Ontario Cold Cases, the podcast. Let's begin our quest for answers. This episode is brought to you by Nickel Investigations. Lisa Anstey. At 9:04 a.m. on the morning of Monday, May 12, 1997, a 911 call was received about a body being found in the first laneway south of Front Street East, west of Cherry Street, at the southwest corner at the rear of the building of 393 Front Street East in downtown Toronto. 393 Front Street East was an abandoned building taken over as a homeless camp, referred to as Street City. It was a busy area where drugs and the sex trade flourished. Upon arrival, police found the body of a woman, obviously deceased, lying face down, fully clothed beside a wall. She was wearing black, tight-fitting pants, a white hooded sweatshirt, a dark blue hip-length jacket, and a white and purple trimmed running shoe. Missing was her right running shoe. Upon examination, it was confirmed the body was that of 21-year-old Lisa Anstey, and she had been strangled. Police did confirm there were visible signs of trauma to her body. Lisa's life. Lisa was a sex trade worker and known crack cocaine addict, known to police, and had been working in the Wellesley and Bleecker Street area of Toronto. She had last been seen on Mother's Day, May 11, 1997, in the Wellesley and Bleecker Street areas. She had been working the street since she was 11 years old, the youngest many sex trade workers had seen. Lisa was known to police and had been previously charged with prostitution-related offenses. Lisa was a First Nations person with the given name of Lisa Rojas, who also had 2 kids. She was known to be a scrapper and tough as nails, though small in stature at about 5 foot 4 inches and 105 pounds. She had chestnut brown hair and a gap in her front teeth. She was not known to have had a pimp and was a nice enough girl, but drugs and addiction led her to have somewhat of a nasty mouth and bad attitude. She was known to use a street named Gemma and Terry and lived on Hook Avenue with a man named Jonathan Scott Dunn, who was convicted of running girls under the age of 14 and given 14 years in prison. Also living there were a girl named Tammy and a man named Danny H., who went by the street name Ghost, and a girl by the name of Anissa G. For a while, she did hang out with a pimp by the name of Wendell or Kendall. Up next, the investigation. The investigation. There are hundreds of people in the homeless shelter, according to police, that were coming and going at all hours of the day and night, yet apparently nobody saw anything relating to the body of Lisa Anstey being dumped. Police theorized she had been killed in another location and moved to the area, which was a dark area without lights. The person moving her had to have had known it was a high-traffic area, possibly hoping someone would find her, thinking she may be still alive, or just wanting someone to find her entirely. Perhaps someone was sending a message. Police believe she was likely killed in a vehicle, or at least transported in one, and her shoe likely came off when she was being removed from the vehicle and dumped at the location, though it is very possible the shoe was kept as a trophy, as many serial killers do. She was found wearing a t-shirt with the slogan, "Take Back the Night," which was part of a campaign by a local sex trade workers organization, more to empower women than it was a push for sex trade workers. At the time, police in and around the Greater Toronto area had been searching for the killers of at least 9 other women with links to prostitution. Therese May Melanson and Florence Harrison, both 32, were found dead in the 6th-floor stairwell of a Regent Park apartment building in Toronto on January 5, 1997. They died of apparent gunshot wounds to the head. The bodies of Julianne Middleton, 23, and Virginia Coote, 33, and Darlene McNeil were found at Sunnyside Beach in Toronto between 1994 and 1997, all of being sexually assaulted and strangled. Up next, the suspects. This episode is brought to you by Nickel Investigations. The suspects. Peter Dale MacDonald. On October 28, 2010, MacDonald, then 52, was charged with the murders of Coote, McNeil, and Middleton. Police said that cross-checking DNA comparing the modus operandi and other relevant information obtained only years later is what allowed them to lay charges in the prostitute murders. DNA alone was not enough since, by the nature of their work, prostitutes would be expected to have had multiple samples of DNA. On July 16, 2011, police announced they dropped the charges against MacDonald in the murders of Coote, McNeil, and Middleton. There is no longer any reasonable prospect of conviction, said Crown Representative Brendan Crawley. Police consider this case closed related to these 3 murders, but was MacDonald responsible for more? Fortunately, MacDonald was convicted in other murder charges. The DNA profile. Lisa clearly did fight back, and that led to DNA of the killer being found. The DNA profile was run through the Violent Criminal Database run in Ontario by the OPP, with no result. Police do have a DNA profile, and also a profile of the killer, white male with blue or light-colored eyes with blonde or red hair. Police conducted nearly 400 interviews at the time. Family, friends, and her boyfriend and his friends were all looked at and eliminated as suspects. The cop. There were rumors at the time a street cop working that area of Toronto was known to pick up prostitutes and shake them down for sexual favors or beat them up. Up next, my theory. Peter Dale MacDonald certainly is a viable suspect. He was known to strangle his victims and was definitely in the area at the time. But if the DNA profile, if accurate, the blonde or red hair does not match MacDonald. But if DNA alone was not enough to convict MacDonald with the murders of the Middleton, Coote, and McNeil cases, since by the nature of their work prostitutes would be expected to have multiple samples of DNA, does this not leave MacDonald as a possible suspect? I believe it certainly does. Some questions regarding this are why move her from where she was likely picked up, which was north of the area she was found in a quieter, though still badly lit area, to an area of high traffic. Obviously, the killer knew the area well. Was he perhaps on a bad date list for the area she was found and had to look for a girl elsewhere? It's very possible. The cop. Now, this seems to me to be the most likely. After investigation and talking to some former sex trade workers and knew Lisa Anstey, they pointed the finger at this cop I'll refer to as KL. He was known to demand sex, or he would threaten to arrest the girls. As one girl told me, if you didn't fight him, you'd be okay. He tried using the seatbelt in the back seat to choke me, so I stopped fighting. The girls were confined behind the cage in the back seat of the car, with no means of escape. He was apparently forced to leave the police force at some point for a domestic matter. The end. On Sunday, May 25, 1997, a candlelight vigil was held in Allen Gardens to remember Lisa Lynn Anstey and for 5 other prostitutes murdered in downtown Toronto in less than a year. They were somebody's daughter. They were somebody's sister. They were women, not second-class citizens, one man said. Several people said police do not investigate the murders of prostitutes with the same vigor as other slayings. As of today, the murder of Lisa Anstey remains unsolved. Thank you for listening to Ontario Cold Cases, the podcast, and please consider subscribing to our channel on Patreon, Spotify, YouTube, or Apple Podcasts.